Chapter 1, just as Faye Caldwell was secretly moving the last of her and her daughter's belongings, eagerly anticipating a new life on a remote island with her childhood friend, Zayn Adler. Ethan Sterling called out to the system. "System, I'm tired. I want to go home." A cold, electronic voice instantly sounded in his mind. "Host's request received. In 7 days, your physical body in this world will perish, and you will successfully return to your original world." After saying this, the system paused noticeably. "I don't quite understand human emotions, but I would like to know why you want to go home. 6 years ago, didn't you give up your mission reward for your wife and daughter?" It was the first time Ethan had ever heard the system say so much. He looked at the family portrait on the wall, a smile more painful than tears spreading across his face. "Because everyone I love wants to escape from me." No one knew that Ethan Sterling was a transmigrator on a mission. 10 years ago, he had arrived in this world tasked with winning over Faye Caldwell. He spent 6 years not only completing his mission, but also falling in love with his target. They even had a child together. That was why, 6 years ago, when the mission was complete and the system asked if he wanted to stay, he chose to remain without a moment's hesitation. But just 3 days ago, in Faye's studio, Ethan had discovered a set of signed documents forms to legally go off-grid. Faye was planning to take their daughter and move to an uninhabited island with Zayn, her supposed childhood sweetheart, to get away from him completely. He recalled a seemingly innocent conversation with his daughter, Anya, that afternoon. "Daddy, what would you do if Mommy and I disappeared one day?" Ethan had chuckled. "Why would you and Mommy disappear? Our family will always be together." Anya had glanced at him guiltily before quickly changing the subject. At the time, Ethan had dismissed it as a strange comment from a little girl who'd been watching too many cartoons. But now he understood. Faye and Anya had been preparing to leave him all along. The sound of Faye opening the door shattered Ethan's thoughts. She walked in with Anya, carrying a cake. "Husband, Anya and I have something on your birthday this year, so we can't celebrate with you. How about we celebrate early?" "Daddy, happy early birthday." Seeing the joyful smiles on his wife and daughter's faces, Ethan felt as if 1,000 arrows had pierced his heart. His fists, hidden at his sides, clenched tightly. What were they so happy about? Happy that they were finally about to escape him? He forced a strained smile, his voice hoarse. "There's no need. It's not like we have to celebrate a birthday." Hearing this, Anya tugged on Faye's sleeve and muttered, "We're trying to be nice and celebrate his birthday, and he's not even grateful. What a killjoy." "He's not nearly as nice as Uncle Zay." Faye quickly patted her shoulder, signaling for her to be quiet. She then turned to Ethan. "She's just a child talking nonsense. Don't take it to heart." With that, she took the cake out of its box, thoughtfully inserted the candles, and urged him, "Go on, make a wish. I got your favorite mango cake." Ethan stared at the mangoes on the cake and let out a cold laugh. "You've got it wrong. I'm allergic to mangoes. The one who loves mangoes isn't me." He turned and threw the cake from the table into the trash can. Of course, Ethan knew who loved mangoes. Zayn Adler's username on his messaging app was Mango. The smile on Faye's face instantly froze. Her expression turned cold. "I just made a small mistake, that's all. Do you have to be like this? My daughter and I were kind enough to celebrate your birthday early, and you can't even give us a pleasant look." Anya rolled her eyes and tugged on her mother's sleeve, whispering something. They both thought they were quiet enough, but Ethan heard it. Anya had said, "Mommy, forget it. We're leaving him in 7 days anyway. Don't stoop to his level." Faye seemed to agree, patting Anya's head. When she looked up again, she appeared to be in a much better mood. Just then, Faye's phone rang. "Faye, I'm still having some trouble with the lighting and shadows in my painting. Could you come to the studio?" Before Faye could answer, Anya jumped up and down excitedly. "No problem, Uncle Zay, you wait. Mommy and I are on our way." She then grabbed Faye's hand and started pulling her toward the door, muttering, "Don't keep Uncle Zay waiting." As she was leaving, Faye glanced back at Ethan. "Well, you're not happy with us at home anyway. We might as well go to the studio so you don't have to look at us and get annoyed." Watching the two of them leave without a trace of reluctance, Ethan felt a bitter wave of irony wash over him. Chapter 2. Faye and Anya didn't come home until late that night. The moment they arrived, Faye took Anya straight into the gaming room and they started playing video games. Through the closed door, Ethan could hear their cheerful laughter. Uncle Zay, you're amazing. One more round, carry me. Zay, you're the best gamer I've ever seen, even better than the pros. The mother and daughter duo showered him with praise, coaxing Zayn to keep playing with them. Faye had always loved gaming, a trait Anya had inherited. Ethan suddenly remembered a short while ago when he saw how addicted they were to a popular battle royale game and wanted to join them. He didn't particularly enjoy video games, but he wanted to have something in common with his wife and daughter. But what had they said to him back then? Let's not, Ethan. This game is too hard and you don't know how to play. Why force yourself to join in? Daddy, if you join, Mommy and I will have to waste time saving you. Besides, we already have a 3-person squad. There's no room. The irony was crushing. So, the 3-person squad Anya mentioned was her, Faye, and Zayn Adler. Ethan returned to the bedroom alone. He closed the door and began to pack up his belongings. He didn't belong to this world, and he didn't want to leave any trace of himself behind when he left. But the more he packed, the more he realized how few of his things there actually were. In fact, it was only after Faye and Anya had secretly moved their own possessions out that the house had begun to feel half empty. Just then, the door creaked open. Faye saw him sitting on the floor, sorting through his things, and looked surprised. Are you going somewhere too? Ethan knew why she used the word too, but he pretended not to hear. No, there are just some things I don't use anymore. I figured I'd pack them up and throw them out. Faye nodded without any suspicion. A second later, a flicker of panic crossed her face. Ethan, you're acting a little strange today. You haven't found out about something, have you? Ethan looked up, his gaze calm and steady. What could I possibly find out? I was just asking. Why are you so serious? Ethan suddenly realized that Faye's patience with him seemed to have dwindled to mere seconds. Faye was a painter, a woman who had spent her life in pursuit of romance and freedom. In the beginning, Ethan had believed he was her soulmate. He had come to this world solely to win her over and save her, to change her fate of dying from depression brought on by her creative struggles. But slowly, as the passion and romance faded, Faye began to see him as dull and uninteresting. She even considered him unmanly, a wimp. He could still deceive himself, telling himself this was a normal phase in any marriage, that as long as Faye still loved him, it was fine. Besides, they had a lovely child together. Until he saw those documents, the forms to renounce their identities. Mommy, hurry up, Uncle Zay has been waiting for you. Anya's call interrupted their conversation. Without a moment's hesitation, Faye turned and left, slamming the bedroom door behind her with a loud bang. The mother and daughter played until the middle of the night before finally going to bed. In the past, Ethan would have already gone to urge them to rest and not stay up too late. But now, he no longer wanted to play the role of the wimp that everyone found so annoying. Chapter 3, Ethan didn't sleep a wink. He lay awake until the first sliver of dawn painted the sky. He decided to just get up and make himself a bowl of noodles. When Faye saw him, she remarked, "Up so early?" Ethan replied automatically, "I'm always up this early." Every morning, Ethan would wake up an hour before Faye and Anya to prepare their breakfast. Faye liked coffee and toast, while Anya preferred oatmeal and pastries, so Ethan had to make 2 different meals every day. Faye had never known this. Or perhaps she simply never cared. A flicker of guilt crossed her face, and she quickly tried to explain. Ethan, don't overthink it. I just think it's tough on you, waking up so early. Ethan continued eating his noodles, his tone devoid of emotion. Oh. Faye fell silent, her mind racing for something else to say. It was Anya who broke the stalemate. She ran to the dining table, her little legs scrambling. Daddy, why did you make noodles today? I hate noodles. Oh well, I'll just make do this morning. With a frown and a grumble, she snatched the bowl from in front of him. But before she could take a bite, Ethan took the bowl back. I didn't make any for you too. If you want to eat, make it yourself. He used to sacrifice for them willingly, waking up early to cook their breakfast. But now that they were planning to leave him behind his back, was there any point in continuing? Anya had never seen Ethan so cold. She was so shocked that she burst into tears. Daddy's mean. I don't like Daddy. I like Uncle Zay. I want Uncle Zay to be my daddy in a few more days. I won't have you as a daddy anymore. Be quiet, Faye's sharp yell startled Anya, who was so frightened she even stopped crying. Ethan, she's just a child who doesn't know any better. She's just talking nonsense. Don't take it to heart. But to Faye's surprise, Ethan showed no reaction to Anya's words at all. He just kept eating his noodles quietly. A terrible premonition crept into her heart, a fear that he knew something. She and Anya were Ethan's entire world. If he discovered their plan, he would surely cause a massive scene and never allow her to take their daughter and run away with Zayn. So, no matter what, she had to keep him from finding out. When Ethan finished the last of his noodles and took his bowl to the kitchen, Faye grabbed his arm, launching into an explanation. "Ethan, are you still mad about the cake? You know Zay and I are just colleagues. There's nothing between us." "Just colleagues?" Ethan found it laughable. Would a mere colleague visit her in the middle of the night? Would a mere colleague conspire with her and his daughter to run away to an uninhabited island? But it didn't matter to him anymore. "Okay, I believe you." Faye froze. The excuses she had prepared were stuck in her throat. Just then, her phone rang. It was Zayn again. Seeing that Ethan had noticed the caller ID, Faye answered on speakerphone as if to prove her innocence. She deliberately made her voice sharp. "Hello, I'm with Ethan right now. If you have something to say it quickly." Zayn on the other end let out a disdainful chuckle, then his voice, full of magnetic charm, came through. "Faye, I woke up with a terrible headache this morning. I must have caught a chill last night from not covering up properly. Do you think you could come take me to the hospital?" Chapter 4, Faye was about to refuse, but then she heard Ethan say, "Go ahead, colleagues should help each other out." Faye breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that Ethan wasn't jealous, she eagerly responded to Zayn, "Wait for me, I'll be there in half an hour." After hanging up, she turned to Ethan, overjoyed. "Ethan, you're the best. I was worried you'd misunderstand the relationship between Zay and me and get jealous, not letting me go. Why would I? Of course, I understand that you and Zayn Adler are just colleagues," Ethan said flatly. Faye, relieved that Ethan wasn't suspicious, let out a long breath. She completely missed the profound indifference in his eyes. "Okay, I'll be back as soon as I drop Zay off." Faye grabbed her coat and prepared to leave. Anya, who had just finished crying, clamored to go with her. Seeing no reaction from Ethan, Faye agreed. 2 hours later, Ethan received a picture message from Zayn. It was a photo of Faye, wearing nothing but a lace camisole, asleep in Zayn's bed. Her neck was dotted with faint, suggestive red marks. Faye is such a good caretaker. The moment she arrived, my fever broke. Now she's the one who's all fired up. Ethan didn't reply. He just stared at the picture and the text, reading it over and over for 10 minutes. Then, another message from Zayn arrived. This time, it was a video. The video showed Anya's face, completely engrossed in a game. Zayn stroked her head and asked, "Anya, who do you like more, Uncle Zay or Daddy?" Anya answered without a hint of hesitation. "Uncle Zay, of course I wish he could be my daddy." The video cut off abruptly, but Zayn's provocations continued. "Thanks for taking such good care of my wife and daughter. But too bad, they're mine from now on." This was followed by dozens of photos. They were all portraits of Zayn, some of them even full nudes, clearly painted by Faye. Ethan suddenly remembered when they first got together. Faye had looked at him, her eyes sparkling. "Ethan, from now on, I'll only paint you. I'll paint all the different versions of you, okay?" Ethan had smiled and asked, "Won't you get tired of painting me?" But Faye had insisted, "How could I? I could paint you for a lifetime and never get tired." But she had broken her promise. After her childhood friend, Zayn, returned to the country, she had devoted all her attention to him and never painted Ethan again. At this thought, Ethan pulled out all the paintings Faye had ever made of him and, one by one, cut them to shreds with a pair of scissors. He didn't want them anymore. A wife and daughter like this, he didn't want them anymore. When he was too tired to cut anymore, Ethan packed up the things he had sorted yesterday and donated them to a charity. That evening, Ethan heard the sound of the lock turning, but he didn't get up. "Why is it so dark? Is Daddy not home?" Anya grumbled, dissatisfied. Previously, whenever Ethan was home, he would turn on the lights and wait for them to return. "Anya, go play some games by yourself for a bit. Uncle Zay and Mommy have something to talk about. Remember to wear your headphones." Faye had actually brought Zayn back to their home a moment later. Zayn's deliberately lowered voice drifted in. "Faye, we've never tried it at your place." Faye hesitated, her voice strained but still trembling slightly. "Don't mess around. Ethan could be back any minute. I don't care." The next second, Ethan heard a woman's soft, seductive moan, followed by Zayn's heavy panting. Ethan was utterly disgusted. He knew something had happened between Faye and Zayn, but hearing it with his own ears was still impossible to accept. If he wasn't trying to avoid any trouble before he left, what man could endure such humiliation? He flipped on the bedroom light and deliberately made a loud noise. The amorous sounds in the living room stopped abruptly. Ethan opened the door and walked out to see Faye frantically smoothing her skirt. But Zayn, standing behind her, was in no hurry. He arrogantly displayed the red marks on his neck, a silent declaration of war. Ethan's fists clenched. He instinctively took a step forward but was blocked by Faye. "Husband, you were home. Why didn't you turn on the lights? I thought you were out," Faye said, flustered. "What were you doing in the bedroom just now?" Ethan didn't expose her clumsy cover-up, saying through gritted teeth, "Sleeping. I just woke up. What's wrong?" Only then did Faye relax and shake her head. She then said, "Oh, right, husband, I wanted to discuss something with you. The apartment next to Zay's is being renovated, and it's so noisy all day he can't sleep. We have a spare room, so I was thinking he could move in for a couple of days. What do you think?" As soon as she finished speaking, Anya burst out of the gaming room, her hands raised in agreement. "That's great. I want Uncle Zay to live with us, then we can play games every day. Daddy, Mommy, and I both agree, so majority rules. You wouldn't say no, would you?" Ethan looked away, unwilling to see the eager expression on Anya's face. He said numbly, "I have no objections." Just as Anya was jumping for joy, the doorbell rang. "Excuse me, is this Mr. Ethan Sterling's residence? You have a package to be picked up for a donation to a remote region, correct?" Chapter 5, What donation to a remote region? Faye's brow furrowed at the delivery man's words. She stared intently at Ethan. "What are you donating?" Faye's long fingernails dug into the flesh of Ethan's arm, but she didn't seem to notice, or perhaps she simply didn't care. Ethan let out an involuntary hiss. "Faye, you're hurting me," he said, frowning slightly. Only then did she release her grip. "Why are you donating things out of the blue? No wonder the house feels emptier and emptier." Ethan said nothing, simply handing the packed boxes to the delivery man. Seeing that he was ignoring her, Faye was about to press him further when Zayn spoke up from the side, his tone casual. "Ethan, you're not doing this just because Faye and I have been close lately, are you? A little jealous stunt. Faye and I are really just colleagues. Believe it or not, there's no need to play these mysterious games to get her attention. What kind of man does that make you look like?" Hearing this, Faye's expression instantly darkened. "You did this on purpose." Ethan found her utterly ridiculous. She believed everything Zayn said as if she had no mind of her own, but he didn't care anymore. Seeing that Ethan offered no explanation, Zayn grew bolder. "It must be. Isn't that how it's written in novels? First, you donate things to a charity, then you leave without telling your family, and in the end, the family finds out and is filled with regret." As much as Ethan wanted to avoid trouble before he left, he couldn't tolerate Zayn's relentless provocations any longer. "This is my business. It's not for an outsider to comment on." Zayn's face turned ugly. "You," he was about to say more but was stopped by Faye. "That's enough." She then turned to him and whispered, in a voice only they could hear, "We're leaving in a few days. If Ethan finds out, he'll never let me and our daughter go." Zayn shot Faye a resentful glare. Faye instinctively wanted to comfort him, but with Ethan present, she could only let it go. Ethan couldn't be bothered to watch their little drama. He turned and went back to the bedroom. At dinner, Zayn was nowhere to be seen. Anya tugged on Faye's sleeve. "Mommy, where did Uncle Zay go? I went to his room to call him for dinner, but he wasn't there. Did Daddy scare him away? Can you go talk to him? If you act cute, I'm sure he won't be angry anymore." She then turned to Ethan. "Daddy, this is all your fault. You chased Uncle Zay away. I order you to go apologize to him right now." Anya saw nothing wrong with her words, as if it was perfectly natural for Ethan to do so. But Faye noticed. Her tone was stern. "Apologize for what? He's a guest. How could your father apologize to him? What would people think?" As she spoke, Faye placed a piece of food on Ethan's plate, her voice gentle. "Besides, in this lifetime, the only man I'll ever act cute for is your father." Ethan suppressed a cold smirk, quietly watching Faye's performance. He could clearly see that after serving him, she had hidden her hands under the table, her screen showing she was messaging Zayn. Late that night, as Ethan slept, Faye carefully leaned over him and whispered, "Husband, are you asleep?" Ethan's eyes remained shut, showing no sign of stirring. Relieved, she lowered her voice, speaking to someone else in the room. "Come out." "He's asleep." Zayn appeared, his voice laced with dissatisfaction. "After how you treated me this evening, how are you going to make it up to me?" Faye was already losing her composure, her voice trembling. "What do you want me to do?" Zayn let out a coquettish laugh and pulled a piece of lingerie from a corner. "Like it? I got it just for you." Faye's breath hitched. She sat up in bed, her legs so weak she could barely stand. "Can't you wait? In a few more days, we can be together all the time. Can't you even wait that long?" "Can you?" Zayn chuckled softly. The next moment, Faye's moan and the sound of wetness filled the room. "Tusk, your body is quite honest, isn't it?" Faye had no idea that Ethan, whom she thought was fast asleep, now had his eyes wide open. Through the reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window, he watched in despair as their bodies intertwined. Ethan bit down hard on his fist, tears of humiliation streaming silently down his face, soaking the matching couple's pillow he had specially bought. He finally understood the visceral, gut-wrenching pain of a heart being sliced apart. An hour later, they finished. Zayn reluctantly left the bedroom, and Faye gradually drifted into a deep sleep. Suddenly, Ethan's phone vibrated with a new message. It was from Zayn. It contained only one sentence: "I know you're awake." Did you enjoy the sounds she made? Chapter 6. The next day, Faye woke up unusually early. She made breakfast and even went to wake Ethan up herself. Ethan pretended not to see the marks on her neck, subtly avoiding her touch. He was disgusted. Faye, having been well satisfied the night before, was in a great mood and didn't notice the change in Ethan. "Husband, we didn't do a good job celebrating your birthday last time. How about we go camping as a family on Saturday? We can make up for it." Ethan's movements paused for a fraction of a second. Saturday. That was the day before Faye planned to run away with Anya and Zayn, the day he was scheduled to stage his death and leave this world. He forced an unnatural smile. Why the sudden urge to go camping? In the past, Ethan had suggested more family time, but every time they were about to go out, Faye's studio would suddenly become busy. He later learned that all those supposedly urgent matters were related to Zayn. Faye smiled back, her voice gentle. "Well, we haven't really taken Anya out to do anything fun, just the three of us. And who knows if we'll have the chance again in the future." Her voice dropped to a whisper on the last sentence, but Ethan heard it clearly. Hearing they were going out, Anya couldn't even be bothered to finish chewing her food. She mumbled, her mouth full, "Daddy, let's go please." Please? As much as Ethan resented Anya for her attitude towards him, she was still his daughter. He couldn't bring himself to refuse her outright. Faye softened her tone, coaxing him gently. "Ethan, are you still mad at me? I've already asked Zayn to move out." Ethan glanced around. Indeed, there was no sign of Zayn. Seeing Ethan's hesitation, a strange sense of unease crept into Faye's heart. Ethan adored her and their daughter. In the past, he would have agreed to anything they asked in a heartbeat, always providing emotional support. This was the first time he had ever seemed so listless in front of them. "Ethan, are you still angry with me? Or did you see something that made you unhappy?" At her words, Ethan smiled and shook his head, his tone calm. "You're overthinking it. I was just thinking about what we should pack for the camping trip." Faye's heart finally settled. She pushed down the strange feeling, attributing it to her own guilty conscience. So she didn't see the flicker of darkness that crossed Ethan's eyes after he spoke. Let this be the final chapter, Ethan told himself. Time flew by, and soon it was Saturday. Faye never trusted anyone else to drive, except for Zayn. So Ethan sat silently in the passenger seat as Faye drove. Both she and Anya were bubbling with excitement, looking forward to the trip. "Mommy, first we'll set up the tent, and then Daddy and I will go gather firewood." Faye smiled and nodded. On the way, Anya insisted on having an apple. Faye pulled a fruit knife from her bag and handed it to Ethan. "Peel one for her, would you? I can't take my hands off the wheel." Ethan took the knife without a word and began to peel the apple. Just then, Faye's phone rang. It was connected to the car's Bluetooth, so Ethan saw the caller's name immediately. It was Zayn. Faye frowned and after a moment's hesitation, declined the call. Ethan said nothing, but a second later, Zayn called again, clearly determined to get through. "Answer it," Ethan said flatly. Only then did Faye, with a show of annoyance, accept the call. The next second, Zayn's voice filled the car. Faye, I've been in a car accident. Before Zayn could finish, Faye slammed her foot on the brake. Ethan was thrown forward. The sharp fruit knife in his hand sliced across his palm, and blood began to pour out uncontrollably. Chapter 7. Ethan clutched his bleeding right hand, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. From the back seat, Anya was chattering away. Mommy, Uncle Zay said he was in a car accident. What are you waiting for? Go see him. She seemed completely oblivious to the fact that Ethan was injured. Faye glanced at Ethan, then at her phone. After a long moment, she made a difficult decision. She looked at him, her expression troubled. Ethan, could you get out of the car and take care of your hand by yourself? The pain was making Ethan lose his senses. He felt like he couldn't even bend his right hand properly. He grabbed Faye's sleeve with his other hand. The blood stained her white dress red. Faye's brow furrowed. Ignoring his pain, she ruthlessly pulled her arm away, her tone laced with blame. Ethan, you're a grown man. It's just a small cut. Go to a hospital and get it bandaged. Zay's situation is different. Anya also urged him impatiently. Yeah, Daddy, get out of the car. If anything happens to Uncle Zay because of you, I'll hate you for the rest of my life, hate him for the rest of his life. Hearing Anya's words, Ethan felt as if all the strength had been drained from his body. He couldn't say another word. How could the pain in his hand compare to the pain in his heart? Ethan, I really don't have time. With that, Faye hurriedly got out of the car and pulled Ethan from the passenger seat. She slammed the door shut and floored the accelerator, leaving Ethan in a cloud of acrid exhaust fumes. Faye Caldwell. Anya Sterling, Ethan said quietly, watching the car disappear into the distance. Goodbye forever. After saying this, he started walking back towards home, not even bothering to tend to his wound. By the time Ethan got home, the blood on his hand had dried and clotted. He stared blankly at the wound on his wrist. It all felt too coincidental, yet also like it was fated. His original plan for his death was suicide by slitting his wrists. Just then, another message from Zayn arrived. All it takes is one phone call, and they'll abandon you without a second thought to come to me. Here's another secret for you. Tomorrow, we're running away to a place where no one can ever find us. So even if you keep clinging to Faye, it's useless. They only like me. The one they love is me. Tusk, Tusk, Tusk. Knowing that your wife and daughter are about to abandon you, it must feel terrible, right? Ethan expressionlessly turned off his phone and tossed it aside. A secret he already knew, and he would abandon them before they had the chance to abandon him. The hours ticked by, and soon it was midnight. Faye and Anya still hadn't returned. Ethan could guess what they had been doing all this time, fussing over Zayn, trying to make him happy. When the clock hands aligned perfectly at 12, the system's voice echoed in his mind. Host, please confirm one last time. Do you choose to leave this world by means of death? This is your final chance. Once the choice is made, it cannot be reversed. Ethan's voice was faint but filled with determination. Yes, no regrets. With that, he got up and went to the bathroom, drawing himself a tub of warm water. He lay down in it, his face a blank mask, and sliced open the freshly healed scar on his wrist. The next second, he felt his consciousness fade away, the system's voice amplifying in his mind. Host has met the conditions for departure, now transmitting you to the real world. Chapter 8. Meanwhile, Faye, half-naked, lay sleeping in Zayn's arms. Suddenly, she jolted awake from her dream and sat up. What's wrong? Zayn, still drowsy, stretched and casually revealed the defined muscles of his abdomen. But Faye was completely distracted. She didn't know how to describe the dream she just had. She had seen Ethan kill himself right in front of her, his bright red blood pooling on the floor. It's nothing, just a nightmare. I'm going to head home for a bit. A strange feeling washed over Faye, a sense that the dream had been real. She wanted to go home and check, but Zayn wasn't having it. He wrapped his arms around her waist, his voice seductive. Miss Caldwell, why are you leaving so early today? Won't you stay with me a little longer? Faye's legs went weak, and she ended up staying with Zayn for another half hour. From an angle Faye couldn't see, Zayn smirked triumphantly. He knew her weaknesses all too well. All right, Zay, I'll come see you tomorrow. Anya's asleep, so please look after her for me. Faye got dressed again and was about to leave, but Zayn still clung to the hem of her skirt, refusing to let go. Let go. Don't make me say it again. Faye was starting to get impatient. She had thought Zayn would soothe her anxiety, but he was having the opposite effect. Zayn had never been treated so coldly by her before, and resentment welled up inside him. He got out of bed and wrapped his arms around her waist, refusing to let her go. You promised you'd spend the day with me. I'm not letting you leave. Besides, we're going to the island tomorrow anyway. You won't see that man again, so why do you have to go back? And when are you going to ask him for a divorce? Zayn's words infuriated Faye. She ruthlessly shook off his hands, her voice tinged with anger. I agreed to go to the island with you for artistic inspiration. I never said I wasn't coming back. Know your place. Ethan is my husband and Anya's father. With that, Faye turned and left, ignoring Zayn behind her. On the way home, the bad feeling in Faye's gut grew stronger. She pulled out her phone and dialed Ethan's number. We're sorry, the number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Faye was truly panicking now. She knew Ethan's habits. His phone was never off unless something was wrong. She pressed harder on the accelerator, speeding down the empty streets. The half-hour drive took her less than half the usual time. The moment she pushed open the door, Faye didn't even bother to turn on the lights before rushing to the bedroom. She desperately needed to see Ethan lying in bed, just like he always was. But what she found was not what she expected. The double bed was empty. Only the sly moonlight illuminated the slight wrinkles on the sheets. Faye called out Ethan's name, but only the empty echo of her own voice answered. She checked the study and Anya's room, but there was still no sign of him. When Faye returned to the bedroom, intending to see if any of Ethan's personal belongings were missing, she froze. She slowly turned her head, her gaze fixed on the closed bathroom door. The feeling of dread reached its peak. Faye's hand stiffly pressed down on the doorknob. She fumbled in the dark for the light switch on the wall. The next second, the bathroom light flickered on. The sight of the blood-covered floor made her scream. Faye collapsed to the ground, staring in disbelief at the bathtub. Draped over the edge of the tub was an arm, pale and ghastly, with 2 cuts, one deep, one shallow on the wrist. It was exactly like the scene from her nightmare. Chapter 9, Ethan, wake up, Faye screamed, finally managing to regain some semblance of composure as she crawled towards the bathtub. The water in the tub was stained bright red with Ethan's blood. The man inside looked as if he were asleep, his expression peaceful, but he wasn't breathing. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Please, open your eyes and look at me. Don't scare me like this, I'm begging you. She knelt on the floor, weeping in agony, but no matter how much she cried out, Ethan remained unresponsive. Helplessly, Faye shook his hand and found that his body was still warm. Clinging to a final shred of hope, she pulled her phone from her pocket. But her hands were shaking so violently that the smooth phone slipped from her grasp like an eel, clattering to the floor. Miraculously, the screen didn't crack. Faye bit her lip hard, using the pain to force herself to think clearly. She finally managed to dial for help. Please hurry, I can't live without my husband. By the time the police and paramedics arrived, they found a woman with vacant eyes, her clothes stained with blood, her face a mask of pitiable grief. Miss Caldwell, is that correct? Based on our initial investigation, we suspect your husband committed suicide. However, we will need to conduct a further investigation to reach a final conclusion. No, my husband isn't dead, he's not dead, Faye cried hysterically, grabbing the doctor who stood behind the police officer. Please, save him, he's still warm, please save him, but the doctor sighed, shaking his head regretfully. We understand how you feel, but I'm very sorry. Your husband has indeed passed away. It's a shame he wasn't found sooner. If we had been here just an hour earlier, we might have had a chance to save him. An hour, just 1 hour. If she hadn't wasted that last hour with Zayn, if she had controlled herself, would Ethan still be alive? Overwhelmed with remorse, Faye slammed her head against the wall, a guttural cry of anguish escaping her throat. She couldn't accept it. A nearby police officer quickly grabbed her. Calm down. Just then, a young officer found a phone on the sofa. Miss Caldwell, can you identify if this is Mr. Sterling's phone? If it is, could you please unlock it for us? Faye recognized it immediately. It was Ethan's phone. Tucked into the back of the case was a photo of the 3 of them. Ethan's passcode had always been the same, her birthday. Numbly, Faye entered the code and handed the phone back to the officer. A few moments later, she saw the officer looking at her with an unreadable expression. The pity in his eyes was gone, replaced by a barely perceptible trace of contempt. Do you know a man named Zayn Adler? He was the last person to send Mr. Sterling a message before he died. Perhaps this is also the reason he took his own life. Faye's eyes widened in disbelief as she stared at the phone screen, at the photos, videos, and countless taunting, cruel messages Zayn had sent to Ethan. Her fists clenched violently. She bit down on her back teeth, and for the first time in her life, a searing hatred for another person erupted within her. The next second, Faye turned, her face a mask of cold fury, and stormed out the door. She got in her car, floored the accelerator, and sped towards Zayn's house. Chapter 10. Meanwhile, Zayn Adler was holding a pregnancy test with 2 distinct lines, laughing out loud with joy. He had taken the sample when Faye wasn't looking during a trip to the bathroom. The result did not disappoint. He came from a poor background. His family had scraped together every last penny to send him to art school. But once he got there, he realized just how vast the gap between people could be. A single pair of his roommates' shoes cost more than his family's entire annual income. And in their field, how many could truly become famous and hold exhibitions? Most ended up taking dead-end 9 to 5 jobs at companies or teaching at workshops. A month of his hard work couldn't even cover the cost of one of their dinners. From that moment on, he resolved to marry a rich man's daughter. Faye Caldwell was the most suitable candidate he had found. She was famous in her field, young and beautiful. The only drawback was her husband and child, but he didn't care. Just as men were drawn to young, beautiful bodies, so were women. So he fabricated an identity as Faye's childhood friend and even changed his name. Luckily, the real Zayn Adler had gone abroad long ago, so Faye never suspected a thing. It worked. One rainy day, Zayn intentionally walked without an umbrella. His white shirt clung to his body, outlining his well-built muscles. He pretended not to notice, looking into Faye's eyes with a gaze full of adoration. "Faye, your use of light and shadow is brilliant." When he saw the shy look in her eyes, he knew he had succeeded. So what if she had a reputation for being devoted and aloof? Since childhood, he had never failed to get any woman he set his sights on. He had been involved with Faye for 6 months, and gradually, he grew dissatisfied. Faye would spend money on him, but it was a drop in the ocean compared to her family's wealth. He wanted it all, so he shifted his focus to Anya Sterling. A child was easier to fool. All it took was playing some games with her and treating her to junk food she wasn't usually allowed to have. And Anya was practically begging for him to be her father. But now he and Faye were having their own child, and Anya had become a thorn in his side. "Uncle Zay, did Mommy go home? Why didn't she take me with her?" Anya had woken up at some point and was standing at the door, rubbing her eyes. Zayn looked at her coldly, calculating. Once Faye's baby was born, Anya would be his biggest obstacle. If only Anya didn't exist? Suddenly, a plan began to form in his mind. He walked towards Anya, step by step, and knelt in front of her. His voice was gentle, but with an underlying chill that was terrifying. "Anya, your mommy had to go out for something. Why don't you wait for her on the balcony? That way, you'll see her the moment she gets downstairs." A 6 or 7-year-old child, at the height of her mischievous phase, if she were to accidentally fall from the balcony, it would be a plausible accident. Similar incidents weren't unheard of in recent years. Anya, still groggy from sleep, didn't hesitate. She walked towards the balcony, completely unaware that her beloved Uncle Zay was planning to kill her. Zayn watched the small figure by the balcony, swallowing nervously. He tiptoed closer, step by step. But then, Anya suddenly turned around. "That's not right, Uncle Zay. Mommy drives. Why would she be walking downstairs?" He was so close to success. Zayn could already picture himself married to Faye, squandering her wealth. He couldn't allow any mishaps. He had been poor for long enough. He didn't answer Anya's question, his face grim as he quickened his pace. Anya seemed to realize that the usually gentle uncle in front of her had suddenly changed. His terrifying expression made her burst into tears. Just as Zayn's hand was about to touch the corner of Anya's shirt, the door was suddenly thrown open. The moment Faye entered, she saw Anya trembling by the balcony, Zayn's outstretched hand, and the ferocious expression he hadn't had time to hide. "Zayn Adler, what are you doing? Chapter 11. Zayn could practically hear his own heart pounding in his chest. Seeing her mother, Anya ran into Faye's arms, sobbing. "Mommy, where did you go?" Faye's gentle comforting of Anya gave Zayn a moment to compose himself. He quickly put on an innocent smile. "Faye, you're back? I saw Anya on the balcony alone and thought it was too dangerous, so I was just about to bring her back inside." "You're lying." Anya peeked out from her mother's embrace, tears still streaming down her face. "You were the one who told me to wait for Mommy on the balcony, and you were trying to push me off." Faye's face turned ashen. She stared at Zayn, the coldness in her eyes making him shiver. "Anya," Faye took a deep breath, trying to soften her expression. "Go to your room for a minute. Mommy has something to take care of. Be good, and don't listen in on grown-up secrets, okay?" Anya hesitated for a moment before nodding obediently. Before she closed the door, she turned back, her voice still thick with tears. "Mommy, please hurry. I miss Daddy. Can we not go to the island tomorrow?" The expression on Faye's face froze. She didn't know how to tell her child about Ethan's suicide and could only manage a stiff nod. As Anya gently closed the door, Zayn's heart leaped into his throat. He forced an unnatural smile and walked towards Faye, his mind racing to formulate an explanation. "Faye, it's not what you think. Anya is still young and doesn't know what she's saying. She's just..." Before he could finish, Faye slapped him hard across the face. A searing pain shot through his right cheek. "Didn't I tell you that I could give you whatever you want, but you were not to reveal our relationship to Ethan or Anya?" Faye's face was a mask of terrifying coldness as she advanced on him. "Didn't I tell you that Anya is my only child, and I won't let anyone hurt her?" Zayn had never seen Faye like this. He was so terrified he couldn't even form a complete sentence. "No, it's not, I..." Enough, Faye had no desire to listen to his excuses. "Did you think you were being clever? Did you think I didn't know what you said to Ethan? Did you think I couldn't see what you were trying to do to Anya?" By now, Faye had backed Zayn into a corner, leaving him with no escape. The next second, Faye pulled a fruit knife from her pocket, the same one that had cut Ethan. Her voice was venomous. "You killed the man I love most. Now you can die too. Ethan is dead." This was something Zayn had not expected. "You don't have the right to say his name," Zayn suddenly shouted. "No, Faye, you can't touch me. You're pregnant with my child." Faye froze. Zayn finally had a chance to breathe. He quickly pulled the pregnancy test from his pocket, holding it up like a life-saving talisman. "It's true. I'm not lying. You're carrying our child, Faye. I know I did wrong. I'll never do it again. Please forgive me. I'm begging you. I've always used protection. How could I be pregnant?" Zayn quickly replied. "It's because I love you so much. I wanted us to have a child of our own." Seeing Zayn kneeling before her, weeping, Faye felt nothing but a belated realization of how thoroughly she had been deceived. She glanced at the pregnancy test and tossed it to the floor. "A child? I told you I will only ever have one child, and that's Anya." Faye let out a cold laugh, the knife in her hand plunging towards Zayn. "As for this bastard in my belly, it doesn't deserve to be born into this world." The knife missed its mark but still sliced open Zayn's palm. He collapsed to the floor, screaming in pain, his forehead covered in a cold sweat. "Faye, calm down. Anya only has you now." Those words instantly brought Faye back to her senses. That was right. Anya only had her now. If something happened to her because of Zayn, what would happen to the only child she had with Ethan? As she hesitated, Zayn lunged, snatching the knife from her hand. His expression twisted with malice. "You bitch, you want to kill me? Then you die first." Just then, there was a knock at the door. "Faye Caldwell, open up. This is the police." Shortly after Faye had left, the police had followed her, fearing she might do something drastic. Zayn could only reluctantly let her go. As Faye ran to open the door, Anya came out of her room. Her small face was streaked with tears. She tugged on Faye's sleeve. "Mommy, what does dead mean? Does it mean I'll never see Daddy again?" Faye didn't know how to explain, but the next second, Anya fainted. Chapter 12. Both Zayn and Anya were taken to the hospital. Faye's knife wound hadn't caused any serious damage to him. Anya, however, was in shock and was undergoing a full medical examination. With police officers nearby, Faye couldn't do anything drastic. Besides, she seemed to have regained her composure, though she was slumped against the wall in exhaustion. Zayn saw this as his opportunity. Even if he couldn't win Faye back, he had to get one last payout from her. "Faye, don't be sad. Even though Ethan is gone, you still have me. Faye slowly raised her eyes, her voice filled with loathing. Get out! You think you're worthy of being compared to Ethan? Hearing her insult, Zayn gritted his teeth. He knew he probably wouldn't be able to marry Faye now, but he couldn't let the time and effort he had invested in her go to waste. Fine. Since you've said that, let's just call it quits. But no matter what, I gave you my youth. You can't deny that, can you? This was the first time Zayn had dropped his facade in front of Faye, revealing his true colors. Faye looked at him, feeling as disgusted as if she had swallowed a fly. How much do you want? Zayn calculated in his head, then mustered his courage. $3 million. Give me $3 million for my emotional distress. Faye burst out laughing. She looked him up and down, her tone mocking. You think you're worth $3 million? Faye took out her phone, swiped a few times, and a moment later, Zayn's phone buzzed with a transfer notification. Zayn had held onto a sliver of hope, thinking Faye was just being harsh but wouldn't actually leave him with nothing. But when he saw the number on the screen, he froze. $100,000? What was he supposed to do with $100,000? But Faye's next words made him tremble with rage. Even at $1,000 a pop, this $100,000 is more than enough. Faye Caldwell, what do you take me for? He had approached her with ulterior motives, it was true, but he had also developed genuine feelings for her. He hadn't been with any other woman besides Faye. I endured humiliation to be with you for so long, sacrificing my youth and opportunities for you. How dare you insult me like this? Zayn raised his voice, his tone dripping with sarcasm. You think I killed Ethan? You're quick to shift the blame. If you hadn't cheated on him, if you hadn't been willing to abandon your identity to run away with me, would he have died? Have you forgotten that you were the one who drugged him with sleeping pills? Have you forgotten how many times you were with me right in front of him that day? Faye's emotions teetered on the edge of a violent outburst. Her breathing became ragged. She felt the urge to kill Zayn again. Under the bright lights of the hospital corridor, Zayn saw the fury in Faye's eyes and belatedly realized that his words had been enough to push the already fragile woman over the edge. Zayn wasn't stupid. He knew that the only reason Faye had shown him any mercy was because of their supposed childhood friendship. But just then, a doctor came out. Who is Anya Sterling's family? The child is awake and is asking for her father. At these words, Faye rushed into the hospital room, not noticing Zayn slipping away in the chaos. Or perhaps she no longer cared. In the room, Anya was crying, her face flushed red. Mommy, I'm never going to see Daddy again, am I? Faye swallowed the bitterness in her heart, fighting back tears as she tried to comfort her. No, that's not. But before she could finish, Anya cut her off with a sob. Don't lie to me anymore, I know what dead means. Mommy, it's all your fault. Why did you bring Uncle Zay into our home? Why did you want to take us away from Daddy? If it weren't for you, Daddy wouldn't have died. I hate you. Chapter 13. Anya's words were like sharp needles, piercing Faye's heart. Every word she said was true, which only made it harder for Faye to accept. Faye lost control of her emotions once again, forgetting that the person in front of her was just a 6-year-old child, her own daughter. Anya Sterling, if we're talking about who killed your father, you had a part in it too. Didn't you say you wished Zayn was your father? Anya froze. Flashes of memory flooded her mind. Telling her father he was a killjoy, planning with her mother to run away from him, and so many other things. She had never thought it would lead to her father's death. She had always believed that because he loved her so much, he would unconditionally forgive everything she did. Anya broke down in tears again. Her cries brought Faye back to her senses. She suddenly realized how cruel her words had been. I'm sorry, Anya. Mommy was wrong. I'm so sorry, she cried, helplessly holding Anya as her own tears finally fell. The next day, the police concluded their investigation into Ethan's death. As they had initially suspected, it was a suicide. Like a lost soul, Faye went to get Ethan's death certificate. Every word on the document was a fresh reminder that Ethan was truly gone, that he had left her and their daughter for good. But as Faye was preparing to take Ethan's body for cremation, she was faced with a fact she couldn't accept. I'm sorry, Miss Caldwell, but you do not have the authority to cremate Mr. Ethan Sterling's remains. Faye was stunned. She stared at the newly arrived official in disbelief. Are you kidding me? He was my husband. I am his wife. I don't have the right to handle his body? The official nodded, looking troubled. He pulled a body donation agreement from his file, his tone apologetic. "We understand your grief, but Mr. Sterling signed this agreement before his death. Even as his wife, you cannot override his personal wishes. We have the utmost respect and gratitude for Mr. Sterling's contribution to medical science, but please respect his final wishes." Faye couldn't accept it. The combination of a sleepless night and the intense psychological and physical strain was too much. Her vision went black and she collapsed. When Faye woke up, she squeezed her eyes shut again before she could even register her surroundings. She wished so desperately that this was all just a nightmare, that she was at home with Ethan sleeping beside her, or in the kitchen making breakfast for her and Anya. No, from now on she would make breakfast. She would do everything. She would never cheat on him again, not with any man, as long as her Ethan was safe and by her side. But Faye knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was not a dream. She was not at home. She was in a cold, sterile hospital room. A single tear slid silently from the corner of her eye. Chapter 14. The next day, Faye had an abortion. After that, she shut herself away in her home. She hired someone to take care of Anya's daily needs. Anya, as if holding a grudge, never spoke to her again. But Faye didn't care. One day, a strange man contacted her, claiming to be Zayn Adler. Looking at the complete stranger, Faye knew how thoroughly she had been deceived. What broke her even more was that Ethan had erased almost every trace of himself from the house, including the paintings she had made of him. So Faye locked herself in her studio, painting day and night. Like a machine, she produced countless paintings, all of them of Ethan in every possible variation. She remembered the promise she had once made to him and tried to make amends, but it was all in vain. Until one day, she found she couldn't paint anymore. The moment she picked up a brush, her head would throb with an explosive pain. Faye clutched her head in agony, looking like a madwoman, but none of this had anything to do with Ethan Sterling anymore. After returning from the mission world, Ethan was back in his real life. Due to the host's excellent performance in the mission world, the system has specially requested to retain your mission reward. $300 million appeared in Ethan's bank account, without raising any red flags from the bank, as if the money had always been his. But Ethan didn't tell his parents. They were simple, honest people. If they suddenly found out he had that much money, they might just drag him to the police station. However, since returning from the mission world, Ethan cherished everything he had in his real life even more. Before, he had never even been in a relationship. He had always thought he was still young, just out of college. But now, though his physical body was still 25, he knew that he was, in reality, the father of a 6-year-old child. "Ethan, you're not getting any younger. When are you going to get married and have kids?" Faced with his mother's nagging, Ethan felt a headache coming on. He had no desire to get married, especially after his experience with Faye. He suddenly felt that all relationships ended the same way. He had once naively believed Faye was the best woman in the world, unique and different from everyone else, romantic, devoted. But reality had slapped him hard in the face. "I don't care. You are going to this blind date I've arranged for you. If you don't have to come home," perhaps because he had skipped the last few blind dates his mother, Alina, had set up. She was particularly insistent this time. Ethan sighed in resignation, planning to just go through the motions the next day. But he never expected to run into an old acquaintance. "It's you!" Ethan looked at his college classmate, Rosalind Thorne, in surprise. He couldn't believe his mother knew her. It was a little embarrassing, but he had had a crush on Rosalind in college. Just as the crush was beginning to blossom, she had gone abroad. Rosalind was just as he remembered her, always exuding a sense of calm, gentle grace. "I didn't expect my blind date to be you, either." Ethan suddenly felt a sense of camaraderie. Seeing an old friend, he abandoned his plan to intentionally sabotage the date. "Are you also being forced to be here by your family?" Rosalind shook her head, her expression sincere. "I came on my own." Ethan was surprised. Most people their age weren't eager to get married so young, and it was even rarer for someone to actively seek out a blind date. Especially someone as beautiful as Rosalind, who surely had no shortage of admirers. As Ethan was puzzling over this, Rosalind spoke up unexpectedly. "Ethan Sterling, I want to ask you something. Do you have someone you like right now?" Ethan was stunned. He instinctively shook his head, then looked at her, confused. This didn't seem right. Rosalind wasn't the type to be so forward. Sure enough, the next second, Rosalind realized her own impoliteness and gave an apologetic smile. "I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. I didn't mean to offend you. I just wanted to ask for your help." Ethan gestured with his eyes for her to continue. As Rosalind explained, Ethan began to understand the situation. "So, you want me to enter into a sham marriage with you so you can adopt your best friend's child?" Rosalind nodded, a little embarrassed. "They saved my life when I was abroad, but they both died in a car accident and they don't have any reliable relatives. The child is in an orphanage now." Perhaps sensing his hesitation, Rosalind quickly added, "Don't worry. Even if we get married, I won't impose on you. I won't interfere in your private life. If you meet someone you like, we can get a divorce at any time. I just don't want the child to be teased by other kids for not having a father." Ethan thought it over. For him, marrying Rosalind right now was actually a good option. He didn't want to get married, but his family was pressuring him. Rosalind was someone he knew from the past, so he had some idea of her character. Marrying her seemed like a perfect solution for both of them. But as for the child, we should ask the child what she wants, shouldn't we? Chapter 15, Ethan had his own selfish reasons. His own biological daughter, Anya, had already hurt him deeply. Even if he were only a father in name, spending a long time with someone inevitably leads to emotional attachment. So he needed to know the child's attitude towards him, and he also wanted to see if he could like her. It was a two-way street. Rosalind had thought Ethan would refuse her, but when she heard his words, her eyes instantly lit up. "Okay, I'll take you to see her now." At the orphanage, Ethan's eyes were immediately drawn to a little girl in the corner. While the other children were playing and laughing, she sat alone on a small stool, not speaking to anyone, looking completely out of place. "That's my friend's daughter. Coincidentally, my friend's last name was also Thorne, so her name is Iris." As they were talking, a teacher from the orphanage approached. Upon seeing Rosalind, the teacher sighed, a worried expression on her face. "Miss Thorne, Iris is a good kid in every way, but she's just too withdrawn. We had a doctor look at her a couple of days ago, and he said she might have autism." Rosalind was shocked. She knew her friend's daughter was quiet, but her friend had never mentioned autism, and she had never asked for details. The teacher continued, "Normally, a child like her isn't suited for an orphanage. Being adopted would be the best thing for her, but given her current situation, are you still sure you want to adopt her?" Rosalind nodded without any hesitation. No matter what, she couldn't let her savior's child grow up in an orphanage. But as for Ethan, can I talk to her? Of course, but Iris never talks to anyone. Even we have only heard her say a few words. "Sir, if Iris doesn't answer you, please be patient with her." The teacher knew that the young man in front of her was likely to be Iris's future father, so she added a few words of advice. Ethan walked over to Iris and slowly knelt, bringing himself to her eye level. "Hello, Iris, my name is Ethan Sterling." Iris had been staring at the ground, lost in thought, but when she heard Ethan's voice, she slowly looked up. She stared at him, unblinking. Ethan didn't say anything more, just quietly let her look at him. He had a strange feeling that even though this little girl was the same age as his daughter from the other world, only 6 or 7, her eyes seemed to have the ability to see into his soul. Just when everyone thought Iris wouldn't speak, she suddenly opened her mouth. Perhaps because she hadn't spoken in a long time, her voice was a little hoarse. "Don't be sad." Ethan froze. Since returning to the real world, he had done his best to hide his emotions. Even his own parents hadn't noticed anything wrong. But he had lived in that other world for 10 years, how could he just forget? This was the first time someone had directly pointed out his emotional state, and it was a child who was considered to have autism. Rosalind and the teacher stared, their eyes wide with disbelief. They watched as Iris reached out a small, chubby hand and gently placed it on Ethan's shoulder, as if to comfort him. This was the first time Iris had ever shown a sign of friendliness to a complete stranger. What confused them even more was that Ethan didn't deny it. Rosalind looked at the man kneeling on the ground, a silent observer. For some reason, after Iris spoke, she felt as if she could truly sense Ethan's sadness. The wave of sorrow was so overwhelming, it almost swallowed her whole. As Rosalind was lost in thought, Ethan said to Iris, "Would you let me take care of you?" He didn't ask to be her father, only if she would let him take care of her. Everyone held their breath, waiting for Iris's reply. A long time passed, and Iris didn't respond. Just when they thought she had reverted to her usual self, she gave a barely perceptible nod. But everyone saw it. At Ethan's suggestion, he and Rosalind got their marriage license first. We can talk about the wedding later. The most important thing right now is to get Iris out of the orphanage. Eleanor was overjoyed to hear that Ethan and Rosalind were married and had no objections to them having a later wedding ceremony. She even urged Ethan to move in with Rosalind, saying that it was absurd for a married couple to live apart. Although Ethan and Rosalind slept in separate rooms, they saw each other every day. 2 months flew by, and Iris grew more and more attached to him. Though she wasn't his biological daughter, she was more inseparable from him than Anya had ever been. Once, when Ethan got into a small argument with someone, Iris stood in front of him like a protective little animal, determined to defend him. Seeing them get along so well, Rosalind breathed a sigh of relief, silently grateful for the bold, almost absurd request she had made. She found herself subconsciously treating Ethan better and better, so much so that she didn't even realize when she had started to fall for him. As for Ethan, he gradually felt that while he had done Rosalind a favor, she and Iris were also healing him, helping him to slowly forget the wounds he had suffered in the mission world. But he never expected to hear the system's voice again. Chapter 16, You're telling me the mission world will collapse if I don't go back. What does that have to do with me? Ethan was speechless after hearing the system's request. The system was uncharacteristically silent. After a long pause, the cold, electronic voice sounded again. If you do not return, there is a high probability that the Caldwell mother and daughter will come to the real world. The system will have no ability to intervene in their actions. For the first time, Ethan felt a murderous rage. It took him a long moment to calm himself down and ask for details about why the mission world was collapsing. It turned out that in the 2 months since he had left, 20 years had passed in the mission world. He already knew that Faye was the protagonist of that world, but he had never expected that Anya would become the second protagonist after her. But for some reason, Anya had not followed the original plot. She had become a completely different person. In the original story, Anya was confident and cheerful. She was supposed to meet the new male lead in college, and though they would go through a tumultuous, painful romance, they would eventually have a happy ending. But now, Anya had developed a dark personality. She ignored the original male lead and even her own mother, Faye. Even more bizarrely, the first thing Anya did after gaining power was to take revenge on Zayn Adler. She had him thrown into a scam operation in Southeast Asia, where he was brutally tortured, both physically and mentally, day and night. He died within a few days, his body used as fertilizer for a flower garden. After receiving this alert, the system had quickly analyzed Anya and found that it was Ethan's departure that had caused the drastic change in her personality. So, what can I do? You only need to let Anya know that you did not die because of her. This may cause her to return to the original plot. Ethan fell silent. He knew he had to go back. He just hadn't decided whether to tell Rosalind and Iris. The whole transmigration thing was just too bizarre. But he hadn't expected that at dinner that night, Iris would speak up again, a rare occurrence. You seem to be leaving. Rosalind was startled. Though she didn't know what Iris meant, after 2 months of living together, she had gradually realized that Iris was not like other people. She seemed to have a kind of mind-reading ability. As she looked at Ethan nervously, Iris said a second sentence. You've been to another world. With things out in the open, Ethan saw no reason to hide it anymore. He briefly explained what had happened to him. For a normal person, it was an unbelievable story, and Rosalind was no exception. But she was only surprised for a few minutes before quickly accepting it. She said hesitantly, I completely respect your decision, but Iris, she might have a hard time being away from you right now. Iris gave her a knowing look, making Rosalind blush and touch her nose guiltily. But Ethan didn't think too much of it. He just felt that Rosalind had a point. He decided to go to his room and discuss with the system whether he could take Rosalind and Iris with him into the mission world. He didn't know that just after he left. Iris said her third sentence of the day. You're the one who can't be away from him, too. Rosalind was a little embarrassed. She put some food on Iris's plate and said, Don't talk while you're eating. A short while later, Ethan returned, his face beaming. The system agreed to let us go together. After dinner, deciding there was no time like the present, the family of 3 arrived in the mission world. Ethan's original plan was to treat it like a vacation for Iris, to have some fun for a few days before dealing with the mission. But he hadn't expected that on the second day, Anya would receive a phone call. "Miss Sterling, I think I saw a man who looks a lot like your father." Everyone knew that Anya Sterling, the head of the Sterling Group, was constantly mourning her deceased father. Her office was even filled with his portraits. "You'd better not be lying to me. You know what I'm capable of." Hearing this, Anya's eyes narrowed. Though everyone had told her that her father was dead, for some reason, she had always felt in her heart that he was still alive. She had never given up searching for him. "I wouldn't dare." "It's just, well, see for yourself." The next second, Anya received a picture. The moment she saw it, her eyes widened in disbelief. She was certain that the man in the photo was her father. But why did he still look the same as he did 20 years ago, as if time had left no mark on him? A few minutes later, Anya made a call to the old family home. "Tell Faye Caldwell that my father is back." Chapter 17, "Daddy, it's really you. Do you know I've been looking for you for 20 years. Everyone said you were dead, but I knew you were still alive." When Faye and Anya appeared before him, Ethan had to admit that even though he had prepared himself, it was still a shock. The Anya of this world was 26, a year older than he was in the real world. But now she stood before him, clinging to his sleeve like a child, refusing to let go. If it weren't for the familiar features in her face, Ethan wouldn't have been able to connect her with the little girl he remembered. Faye's transformation was even more dramatic. Though she was only in her 50s in this world, she looked like she was in her 70s. Her hair was completely white, her once straight back was now stooped, and her eyes were vacant, only slowly coming into focus when they landed on him. She was a far cry from the celebrated, talented artist she had once been. "Ethan, it's really you. Anya said you were alive, and I didn't dare to believe it, but it's really you. You're not dead." "This is wonderful." 2 streams of tears flowed from Faye's cloudy eyes. Neither of them knew why Ethan hadn't changed at all over the years, why he even looked younger, but they were certain that this was the man they had been searching for and waiting for. The reason didn't matter. It was Ethan who felt awkward. He had thought that seeing them again would stir some emotion in him, some nostalgia, but now, beyond the initial shock, he felt remarkably calm. "Yes, I'm not dead. I'm alive," Ethan said flatly. As if completing a task, he urged the system to tell him if he could go back now, but the system remained silent. Ethan called out several more times, but was met with the same silence. He started to panic. Rosalind noticed the change in his mood and whispered, "What's wrong?" Ethan glanced at the 2 women in front of him and said in a voice only Rosalind could hear, "I can't contact the system." It was only then that Anya noticed the 2 females standing next to Ethan, especially the little one, who was holding his hand tightly. That was her father. How could he be holding another child's hand? Her eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them. "My wife, my daughter." Since he couldn't contact the system, Ethan decided to just go all in. As soon as he said it, Faye clutched her chest and stumbled back a few steps, her face a mask of disbelief. "Wife? Ethan, I'm your wife. We're not divorced. How can you call someone else your wife?" Anya's voice was cold. "Daddy, you can only have one child, and that's me." It was Rosalind who, upon hearing his words, wrapped her arm around his shoulder, a look of satisfaction on her face. She looked Faye up and down, a rare smirk on her lips. "Ma'am, I've met Ethan's mother. To be honest, you look older than she does." A direct hit. And Iris, true to her nature, added succinctly, "You're older than him. You have no shame." Ethan sighed at the bizarre scene. "Is this fun for you?" The 2 Caldwell women, who had been on the verge of a confrontation, now turned their attention to him. "Daddy, what did you say?" "I said, is this fun for you?" Ethan repeated. "When I loved you with all my heart, did either of you cherish it? One of you was sleeping with her childhood sweetheart, and the other was calling another man daddy." "Ha," he sneered. "You must have guessed by now that I'm not from this world. I was forced to come back. If I had a choice, I would never want to see either of you again." "Ethan, I know I was wrong. I was blinded, and I did something terrible to you. I've spent 20 years regretting it. Isn't that enough?" Ethan suddenly felt that Faye hadn't changed at all. She was still as selfish and self-centered as she had been when she was young, thinking the world revolved around her. 20 years. Have you ever thought that if I had really died, even if you spent 40 or 60 years regretting it, it wouldn't change anything? Did you think I didn't know there were sleeping pills in the glass of milk you gave me that night? Hearing this, Faye's eyes widened. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. So, stop with the self-pity. What makes you think that just because you regret it, I have to forgive you? Beside them, Anya said desperately, Daddy, but I'm your child. Are you going to abandon me too? I really know I was wrong. I got revenge for you. I sent that man to Southeast Asia. I haven't called Faye Mom in all these years. Enough, Ethan said softly. You only did all that to make yourself feel better. Besides, you were the one who didn't want me as a father first, Anya. Chapter 18. Anya completely broke down, wailing like she had when she was 6, her behavior almost irrational. I don't care, you're my father, and I'm not letting you leave me again. Feeling he couldn't reason with them, Ethan took Rosalind and Iris by the hand and turned to leave. Stop them. Anya's voice was still thick with tears, but it didn't stop her from ordering her bodyguards to block their path. Anya, is this how I raised you? Anya knew her father was truly angry. She realized she had just revealed her darker side to him. She quickly waved her hands, trying to explain. No, that's not it, Daddy. It's just, my birthday is coming up. Can you just celebrate one last birthday with me? Ethan began to realize that if this issue wasn't resolved completely, they probably wouldn't be able to return to their world. He had already cursed the system 100 times in his head. He glanced at Rosalind and Iris. After receiving their encouraging nods, Ethan agreed. Fine, one last time. Faye, who had just recovered from the shock, said angrily, Anya, get them out of here. She pointed at Rosalind and Iris, her hand trembling uncontrollably. Before Ethan could speak, Anya shot Faye a cold look. If that woman is someone Daddy likes, she can stay. She seemed completely unfazed by the fact that her words had made Faye gasp for breath. But this child, men, take her away. Anya, don't make me hate you. Ethan held Iris tightly, while Rosalind stood protectively in front of them. Anya clenched her jaw, finally giving in. Fine, all of you can stay. Soon, it was Anya's birthday. Only the 5 of them sat at the table, each with a different expression. The only one who seemed genuinely happy was Anya. Daddy, you don't know, but I haven't celebrated my birthday since you left. Daddy, I'm so sorry. Anya's words brought tears to her own eyes, but Ethan's face remained cold and indifferent. He urged her, if you want to celebrate, let's get on with it. After this, we're leaving. Don't be in such a hurry. You still have to sing Happy Birthday and blow out the candles with me, Anya said, wiping away a tear. She seemed to be genuinely trying to celebrate her birthday. When the cake was brought out, Ethan went through the motions, helping Anya blow out the candles and make a wish. Then he stood up to leave. Daddy, I know you must have a mission to complete here, but since it's not done yet, you can't leave. Anya calmly cut a slice of cake and placed it in front of Ethan. As long as you're in this world, I won't let you leave me again. Only then did Ethan realize he had been tricked by Anya. The birthday was just a pretext. Her real intention was to test him. He had to admit Anya was smart. She had already figured it out. It was true. Even if Ethan wanted to go back now, he couldn't. Sensing his tension and anxiety, Rosalind gently squeezed his hand, giving him a reassuring look. No matter what happened, Ethan believed Rosalind would be by his side. His heart suddenly felt a little calmer. That's right, don't let your father leave. If he leaves, he won't come back. Get rid of this woman and this bastard, and our family of 3 can be together forever. Faye had lost her mind. There was only one thought in her head. She couldn't let Ethan leave again. She looked at Anya desperately, her eyes pleading in a way a mother shouldn't have to with her child. What are you waiting for, Anya? Get them out of here. Shut up. Anya grabbed a glass and smashed it at Faye's feet. You have no right to speak here. Faye stared at her in disbelief, a hint of anger in her eyes. I'm your mother, Anya sneered. You stopped being my mother the year my father left me for the first time. Why do you think I've kept you around all this time? It was so you could live and atone for what you did to my father, didn't you know? The person I hate most is you. If it weren't for you, my father wouldn't have left me. She looked Rosalind up and down. You're not bad looking. Since my father likes you, you can stay and keep him company. Faye was about to die from rage. The next second, her gaze fell on Iris, her voice filled with a jealousy she didn't even realize was there. As for you, you can disappear. My father only has one child, me. Why should he be so nice to you? Chapter 19, Ethan looked at Anya with disappointment. He couldn't understand how the once innocent and kind child had turned into this. But before he could speak, Iris did. Do you remember his birthday? Her question stunned not only Anya but Faye as well. Iris continued, I said, today is your birthday, but do you remember what day his birthday is? Anya suddenly remembered the days leading up to her father's departure. At that time, she and Faye had been so eager to run away with Zayn that they had randomly picked a day to celebrate Ethan's birthday early. And even then, the cake they had bought was a mango cake, which her father was allergic to. And on that day, she had called him a killjoy to his face and said she wished Zayn was her father. She could remember so many details, but why couldn't she remember the exact date of her father's birthday? She turned to Faye, furious. Tell me, when is my father's birthday? Tell me now, but Faye just stared back, her eyes blank. She had thought that after Ethan left, she had repented enough, loved him enough. But why couldn't she even remember his birthday? Ethan felt his eyes begin to sting. He remembered how, every year, on Faye's and Anya's birthdays, he would start preparing early, finding new ways to celebrate with them. But when it was his birthday, it was usually just a simple dinner. So of course, they had never paid attention to when his birthday was. It's July 8th, Iris's voice was soft but firm. His birthday is July 8th. Ethan looked at Iris in disbelief, feeling as if she had just filled a void in his heart. Rosalind told me. I remembered it after hearing it just once. Ethan turned to look at Rosalind, but she showed no particular reaction, as if remembering his birthday was the most natural thing in the world. He felt truly lucky to have met Rosalind and Iris. Daddy, I'm sorry. Unlike her previous dramatic crying, this time Anya truly realized where she had gone wrong. Perhaps, from the moment she had first wished for Zayn to be her father, things had already spiraled out of her control. Anya, do you remember what I told you when you were little? Ethan looked at the woman sitting at the head of the table, his mind filled with the image of a small, chubby child. I said, I don't expect you to be exceptional, but you must be upright and kind. You must act with integrity and have a clear conscience. Have you done that? Anya had waited 20 years for this reprimand. It was only later that she realized that the words and actions she had once found suffocating were now something she could never have again. Countless times, she had woken up in the middle of the night from dreams of her father scolding her for being naughty as a child. But upon waking, she would find it was all just a dream. Daddy, I gave you chances, didn't I, Anya? This was the first time Ethan had ever poured out his grief in front of her. When you went behind my back to see Zayn with your mother, when you insisted on letting him move into our house against my wishes, how many lies did you tell me? For Ethan, Faye's affair was far less painful than the betrayal from Anya, because she was his only family in this world. He had thought he had done enough, that he had poured all his love and time into Anya. But what was the result? The result was that when Zayn was in trouble, you ignored the fact that my hand was cut by a knife and urged your mother to go save him. Do you remember what you said to me then? Anya remembered. She remembered everything. Don't say it, Daddy, please don't say it. But Ethan seemed not to hear her anguished pleas and continued. You said that if I delayed you from saving Zayn, you would hate me for the rest of your life. How ironic. My own daughter said she would hate me for the rest of her life. Ethan had truly believed that even if he were to bring up these painful memories again, he would no longer be so emotional. But now he could still recall the despair and pain of that moment. Ethan stood up and gently wiped the tears from his face. So now, are you still going to stop me? Chapter 20, I'm sorry, Daddy, I'm sorry. Anya blindly repeated the same words over and over. Ethan left, and this time, no one stopped him. Ethan, Faye ran after him. Are you really leaving? Faye knew that if he left this time, he would never come back. Ethan suddenly felt that he and Faye needed to put a final end to their story. Faye, I just have one question for you. Faye looked up at him, her eyes filled with sorrow. Back then, if you didn't love me anymore, if you were tired of me, why didn't you just ask for a divorce? Why did you lie to me and choose to run away with Zayn? After he discovered Faye's affair, he had never been able to figure this out. He wasn't the type to cling to someone. If Faye had just asked, he would have left. Although he had chosen to stay in the mission world for her and Anya, it didn't mean he had accepted this kind of emotional blackmail. Faye froze. She suddenly remembered Ethan asking her the same question 20 years ago, but what had she said back then? At that time, she hadn't known that Ethan had discovered her deceit. She had arrogantly told him he was overthinking things, that he was being unreasonable. She never thought that her defensive attitude would once again break his heart. "I'm sorry, I've heard enough apologies today. There's no need for more." Unlike with Anya, whom he could somewhat understand as a young, immature child easily influenced by adults, Faye was a grown woman. "I just thought that you loved me so much, that you would forgive and tolerate anything I did. But Ethan, believe it or not, what I want to say is, even though I agreed to run away with Zayn, I never intended to truly leave you." A sarcastic smile touched Ethan's lips. He felt Faye was a lost cause. He couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on her. His main purpose for returning wasn't for her anyway. This time, Ethan left without a shred of hesitation. Behind him were Rosalind and Iris, his source of warmth and happiness now. As for Faye's anguished cries behind him, he pretended not to hear them. "Isn't the mission complete yet? Why hasn't the system sent us back?" 3 days had passed since they left the Caldwell residence, but the system was still offline. Ethan was frustrated. Although the system had allowed them to bring enough money to live comfortably in this world for the rest of their lives, he still wanted to go back to his own world. But the system was unreliable, so Ethan and Rosalind had no choice but to settle down here for the time being. Fortunately, Faye and her daughter hadn't come looking for him since that day. They hadn't expected to stay this long, so they hadn't packed any extra clothes. One day, as Ethan and Rosalind were taking Iris to the mall to buy clothes, something unexpected happened. A little girl suddenly ran up to Rosalind, grabbed her hand, and cried, Auntie, I got separated from my mommy. Can you help me find her?" Rosalind looked around, but there were no adults in sight. The little girl was the same age as Iris, so Rosalind's heart softened. And since it was just a child, she didn't suspect anything. She said to Ethan, "You and Iris wait here for me. I'll help her look. If we can't find her, we'll call the police." Ethan nodded without any suspicion. Just as he was about to help look, he heard Iris say suddenly, "Lying." Before Ethan could process what Iris had said, he felt a sharp blow to the back of his head and collapsed. When he woke up, he found himself and Iris tied up in an abandoned warehouse. A man in his 40s or 50s stood before them. "Ethan Sterling, how is it that after 20 years you haven't changed at all?" It was Zayn Adler. Chapter 21. Zayn stared at him, his eyes burning with jealous hatred. After leaving Faye, he had quickly found another wealthy woman, one of his other targets at the time. Although she was also married, unlike Faye, she had quickly divorced her husband for him. Zayn had smoothly taken his place, becoming the kept husband of a rich family as he had always dreamed. Fortunately, even while he was with Faye, he had never given up on his other prospects. 10 years later, his wife fell for a younger man, but he didn't care, as long as the money was in his hands. But he never expected that she would divorce him for some boy toy. Coincidentally, at that time, he met a rich older woman who fell for him at first sight. What he didn't know was that this was all a trap set by Anya. "Do you have any idea what my life was like during that time?" Zayn's face was twisted with rage, his features almost unrecognizable, like a vengeful ghost from hell. "I should have pushed her off that balcony when she was 7, he screamed hysterically. "But it's not too late. What do you think, will Faye and Anya come to die for you?" Zayn had gone to great lengths to escape from those devils. He had found a man of similar build, killed him, and disfigured his face to make him unrecognizable. After escaping back to the country, not a day went by that he didn't want revenge on Anya. But the gap in their status was too vast, he couldn't get anywhere near her. He had waited for 10 long years, working as a janitor to stay close to Anya. God knows how shocked he was when he saw Ethan on the street, not only alive but still so young and handsome, with a man who looked equally high quality by his side. Why wasn't he dead? If he wasn't dead, why didn't he come back? "Ethan Sterling, if it weren't for you, none of this would have happened to me. I wouldn't have been targeted by Anya. It's all your fault. You ruined my life." Ethan and Iris were gagged, so they couldn't say a word, only watch him rave. "I'm sick anyway, I'm going to die. So let's all die together." Just then, footsteps approached from outside. Rosalind and the Caldwell women arrived at the same time. Rosalind's eyes were filled with guilt. She had realized something was wrong almost immediately, but by the time she turned back to look for Ethan and Iris, they were gone. She had called the police right away, but the area was a blind spot for surveillance cameras. Soon after, Anya had found her, demanding to know why she hadn't protected her father. "Faye, Anya, you're here," Zayn said, leaning casually against a gasoline drum, a lighter in his hand. "Looks like you're not as heartless as I thought." Before he could finish, he let out a cry of pain, and the lighter fell to the ground. In the next second, Rosalind kicked him to the floor. Just moments before, while Zayn was distracted by the Caldwells, Rosalind had taken out a hidden stone and, with perfect aim, hit his wrist. Seeing that Anya had Zayn under control, Rosalind rushed to Ethan's side and untied him and Iris. Overwhelmed with relief, she pulled them into a tight embrace. The Caldwell women could only stand by and watch. Their hearts felt as if they were being squeezed by an invisible hand, but they didn't dare take a step forward. In that moment, they understood that they were no longer worthy of being his wife, his daughter. When he was in danger, it was Rosalind who had saved him, while Faye could only panic. When he was tied up, 6-year-old Iris had shown no fear, not crying or making a fuss, but instead comforting him with her eyes. But Anya had only been a liability, the one who had almost gotten her father killed again. "Thank God you're okay. It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, so sorry." Rosalind apologized profusely. Only she knew how much effort it had taken to keep her hand steady enough to throw the stone. It was in that moment that she realized how important Ethan had become to her. She had just been thinking that if she could, she would rather be the one in danger. "Hey, I'm fine, aren't I?" Seeing the tension on Rosalind's face, Ethan managed a reassuring smile. It was the first time he had ever seen such an expression on her face. "So, I'm that important to miss. Thorn, huh?" Ethan was trying to lighten the mood, but Rosalind nodded with utmost seriousness. "Yes, very important." "Cheesy," Iris, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke up, beating Rosalind to it and throwing herself into Ethan's arms. Ethan felt a damp spot on his chest. The next second he froze. He had heard it, a soft, trembling whisper from Iris' daddy. Chapter 22, "Why I Hate You, I'll Kill You." Zayn was still screaming, but he was quickly taken away by the police who had arrived. He would face the judgment of the law. Surprisingly, he wasn't the only one taken away. Anya went too. She had turned herself in, confessing to her retaliation against Zayn and all the illegal activities she had been involved in over the years. Before being led away, she took one last look at Ethan. "Daddy, am I a good child in your eyes now?" Ethan knew that she had probably been waiting 20 years for his answer, for his forgiveness, for his approval. He looked at her, and after a long moment, finally spoke. "You did what you had to do." He still couldn't bring himself to truly forgive Anya for the pain she had caused him. Anya was stunned. She repeated his words softly. "I just did what I had to do." Then, with a bitter smile, she closed her eyes. "Daddy, I understand." This time, she didn't say she was sorry, because she knew her father would never forgive her. After the police left, only Ethan, Rosalind, and Iris remained. Just then, the long-absent system suddenly reappeared. "Congratulations, host, you have completed the mission. Now transmitting you back to the real world." In the blink of an eye, the three of them vanished. As for Faye, whom no one had noticed, she returned alone to the old Caldwell mansion. She pushed open the door to the studio, a room she hadn't entered in 20 years. The room was filled with portraits of Ethan. Faye looked at them, one by one, and then, one by one, she doused them with gasoline. After looking at the last painting, she flicked on her lighter. In the sea of flames, Faye suddenly remembered what she had told Ethan when she was young. "I will only love you for the rest of my life. I will only paint for you. If you break your promise, I'll make sure you can never find me again." Then, Faye walked to the bathroom and, using the same method Ethan had used 20 years ago, slit her wrist. "Ethan, the life I owed you, I've given it back." Finally back in the real world, Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. He had been cursing the dam system for 3 straight days, so much so that for the first time, he detected a hint of fear in the system's voice. "Stop cursing. I've given you a special reward and compensation." "What reward?" Ethan's face was cold as he continued to formulate his curses in his head. "Your family of 3 will live long, healthy, and happy lives, free from illness and disaster, in peace and prosperity. Only then did Ethan nod in satisfaction. Even without the system, he believed they would be happy, but the system's words were a guarantee. Hurry up, she's almost home. Iris had been talking more and more lately. At this moment, she was watching with a stern face as Ethan, who had rehearsed this countless times, got down on one knee again, practicing the scene that was about to unfold. I'm home, thud the moment Rosalind pushed open the door, she saw Ethan kneeling on both knees. It's not a holiday, so there's no need for such a grand gesture. Iris, embarrassed, had already shaken her head and gone to her room. Ethan's face was as red as the apple on the table. He quickly propped one leg up. Rosalind, will you marry me? Although they were already legally married, Ethan knew he owed her a proposal and a wedding. Rosalind pretended not to hear the tremor in his voice. She smiled, held out her hand, and nodded happily. I will. 3 months later, at their wedding, Iris, as the flower girl, took the ring box from the basket. Daddy, Mommy, happy wedding day. I love you. Rosalind's eyes instantly welled up. She stroked Iris's head and nodded repeatedly. Ethan took out the ring. This time, his voice was steady, and he didn't kneel on the wrong leg. Rosalind Thorne, will you marry me? Rosalind let him put the ring on her finger, her voice choked with emotion. Didn't you already ask me that once? Ethan stood up and looked into her eyes, his gaze full of love. I have to ask. I'm going to ask you every year. I'm going to propose to you again every year. He leaned in and kissed her. Rosalind caressed his slightly rough hand, still damp with a thin layer of sweat from his nervousness. The end.